In Assisi, Italy, in 1182, Francis was born into a noble family. As he matured, he achieved harmony with nature and the universe surrounding him. He then renounced all vanity and material ambitions to embrace a life dedicated to simplicity and benevolence. This connection with nature and God enabled him to evolve in such a way that he achieved enlightenment, serving as an example to future generations of true love for one's neighbor. In Brazil, Rio de Janeiro, during the 1930s, the Spiritist Tent of Francis of Assisi was established, a tent dedicated to charity and spirituality. In October 1935, the superior rationale presented itself to Mr. Manuel Jacinto Coelho, president of the tent, as Francis of Assisi, guide and chief of the tent. As stated in Book 487 of the historical record, to ensure the superior rational was subtly accepted, the messages were as if spoken by Francis of Assisi himself. The rational culture was born through the books, masterpieces of Francis of Assisi, and his knowledge was imparted in the erudite Portuguese of his time, thus clarifying the superior rationale. Francis walked the earth, faced downfall, and was saved. Earthquakes, those who run lose their legs, carrying extinguished lights and running blind. Thirst rumbles here, holding the knowledge of atmospheric joy, fulfilling the role of a savior, and calls upon the superior rational. Francis, where is Francis? Here I am. Have you felt my influence? I bring the yoke from beyond. I tell you, unhampered by shackles and deceitful undulations, from the depths to the high reliefs, from pains to light springs, all hues are fruitful. Through his teachings, Francis of Assisi teaches what the spirit of truth is. It is he who regards God above all things, and thus simplifies everything into two tenets: to see one's neighbor as oneself, to do good and not concern oneself with whom. In temples where irradiations are performed, made common, poignant with love, divine sums are born, divine forces grow, divine forces produce. The divine force leads obscurely to the light, observing in the gastrial phase in the vein of goodness. Joy grows and radiates expansion, glorifying all sincere, generous hearts, interpreting their abyss and discomfort. Confident lights, I clarify, from the end of the Tagus to solitude, murmuring like an ever-expanding sea. The crystalline springs in troops fade away. The true gala grants aptitude to Christians. Evolving in a sea of laughter, harmless to the curse, all have the right to error and to perdition, shaping the enigma of their salvation. Thus, I recall the basic principles of a rational in evolution. The effusions are of the following essence: simplicity, calm, and benevolence. Where are they? Uprooted with pride by the darkness of times, they drag themselves in errors, declines, and torments. Why do you not love nature? Because the scope is too narrow to define what it is. If you loved it, you would love yourself. Nature is the spirit, and the spirit is everything, urbanized by the sharp weaknesses of the earth, rotting to unyielding souls, sating petty clusters. As the days pass, run, and the time of collectivity approaches. Do you not see how swiftly the passage is? Why have you ceased to carry it to the ruin of the infinite abyss? Do you not see that it will remain so distant, and from such distance you strive to reach? Blazing desire for well-being, you suffer because you do not follow a straighter path to arrive more swiftly and be recognized? Is there a lack of instruction? No. A lack of knowledge? No. A lack of a guide? No. A lack of someone to call you? No. Then what accounts will you render? None except for the discomfort. You are so ignorant. You seek the good, but in the way you think, you cannot aspire to the beyond. If you want the good as you work, you strive to be so. Embrace what I tell you, and pay no heed to the past, to any being. This is the being of reality, the destroyer of evil, where evil suffice for your atrocities, and forgiveness will swiftly approach. And it speaks of the love for your brother and God. The candle reproduces the light, a synonym for divine love that you produce on earth. The candle represents a salve, thus was honored. He who lights a candle saves himself, but not the extinguished candles. Thus, the superior rational clarifies why Francis of Assisi was chosen. I, who have reigned for centuries to show the truth, and today, establishing my kingdom for you to achieve glory. I am from the altruism, from your weak renunciations, who never attended to me as a spokesman, the sulfuric ignorance that reigns among you. I placed this being on earth to be my spokesman, gentle of love, knows not even the science of any color, a legitimate illiterate of the Lord's colors, who on earth, suffering with love, possessed eternal love. Thus, Francis teaches. How do you wish to walk? To find the source of another prism with merits of procedure? Govern your thoughts, extravagant habits to become an unskilled sailor, and then a good navigator. The navigator of God needs knowledge to know his self and achieve greatness. Follows the superior rational. Speaking of rational culture yet to come. You say you encounter difficulties. How was the stone made? The stone does not know to give you the beginning of this nature. How was the sea made? Where did so much water come from? Why does it stir night and day? How were hundreds of shrubs made? I will give all this information, but if you cultivate my lessons, which I have just meticulously provided, small instructions to draw you from darkness and these mystical illusions to lead to the pinnacle of light that you wish to reach in knowing how to find, and continue speaking of love to God. The son who loves God cannot say he suffers. God supports him, God comforts him, God provides everything to preach the truth. Yet it is not as you think. You are completely deceived by the manner of proceeding that all you say is uncertain. Do you think you are wise? You judge the powerless, studying others' miseries and claiming wisdom. Be not so proud, lest presumption undo you. You have neither light nor capacity. If you did not proceed otherwise, your spirit is most imperfect. How do you wish to achieve so much without one to dominate you? How do you judge yourself so advanced? Stir not what is at rest, audacity of your weakness, with whom the involuntary spill divine love. Seal your lips, blaspheme not. Each must tend to himself. It is ill, but it seems well to him. What do you insist upon? All are children of one Father, and he has to correct. Does it not serve you? Hold your tongue. Leave it to those who wish to serve. Lacking the affectionate brotherhood among you, none is better than another. Before God, all are one and the same. How stand you unpunished before you, some wishing to be greater than others? You hold proofs, and heed not the proofs. The truth you say is a lie, and the lie you say is the truth. Your practice is distant, and practice holds value. Theory in vain collapses based on unproven elements. follows the rational culture in other times, in other books, but the foundation remains through rational knowledge, pure of true simplicity and love. Thus teaches the superior rationale. At a beacon of light, of fraternity, of love, what ought one do? Always watch for benign consistencies, to multiply evermore, that all might behold what they ought to behold. Laziness, avarice, and despair, these are for those who do not hold what I give you. Thus never should you behold evil, and the more evil it becomes, the more it troubles, more despair, more sadness, more discontent. And the being who holds the plant of salvation in hand, what ought he do? Behold love, to always improve those who seek the plant of salvation is because they wish to be saved. He who beholds is because he wishes to be beheld, to be served beyond what is necessary. They wander and come to drink at this water, often doubting, thinking it a dubious source. These, with so many knots in their guts, knots of pure rudeness, live in this drunkenness, in this labor of the inebriated, which is this world in which they all live, in this plea of misfortune, in this journey of pain, in this allegorical heap of suffering. They all suffer for this source, lost laughs of pain. All is transient. He who strives on this path, everything shines, everything glows, in ever multiplying the same successive glories. Thus work thusly for one's own benefit. What is the work? Obedience, persistence, calm, simplicity, to be beneficent and prudent from all viewpoints. It avails not for one to be insolent and imprudent, to be a disturber of oneself through ideas, through thinking, corrupting the standards I lay out, given the constant errors. Why did calm arise? For whom is it unknown? He who is calm, everything grows, and he suffers not. He who is without calm suffers and endures, and never accomplishes aught of good, but only all that is ill. And all who are rationally immunized are happy, and in the future all universally shall embrace rational immunization for their own happiness. Since the scripture of universal salvation is ready and the books begin to circulate worldwide, and the alarming announcements in all forms and in all manners, there is none who does not wish to be happy. The memorable glories of the astral are for the persistent and obedient, the rational immunization for the being to live in possession of it. It is necessary that he fulfill the orders he receives rationally. They are as follows: read daily, the more often the better, to always be in possession of knowledge, to be well enlightened and to enlighten others. Reading seldom forgets, it avails nothing. The being to know anything must learn and must be persistent, otherwise he will know naught. Not knowing, he cannot be immunized. Where saw one the being wish to be without making the effort? He can never be, and nor will he achieve what he desires. And thus, watch over your thoughts, for all of them are erroneous. They think that the astral admits all these contradictions. They think that the inhabitants of the astral admit evil as an element of prestige among you. What is natural is with the inhabitants of the astral, and what is not natural, the inhabitants of the astral do not accept. And the natural things are as follows: not to wish for one's neighbor that which one does not wish for oneself, and thus the natural lives well, and outside of it lives quite ill. The natural is all that which can be without harming anyone. The natural is all that which well does to one's neighbor as to oneself. The natural is all that which is above all, because nature is superior to all. And once being superior to all, it is the duty of all to obey and to be guided by natural rules. in doing for the good to receive, to plant for oneself. But torture invaded all, with this sulphurous and painful nomenclature. They all live imploring the superior force of the invisible, of the superior astral, imploring to be contemplated with what they need, with what they believe they have a right, with what they say they have a right, and for thus not being contemplated, they suffer in all manners, in all ways, from all sides. He who regards things as of right shall always be contemplated in all, and shall always be above suffering and not beneath it. The tolls of the astral are for all heads, ringing the bell for a call to attention, that all those who lack the most basic thing, which is obedience to the superior astral, the virtues of a good navigator are exceedingly elevated, and thus the good navigators always see the multiplications they all consummate, and consummate demonstrably, solidly, increasingly more and more. Therefore the good navigators always in elevated heights, on paths to be elevated evermore. The joys, the glories, the riches multiply evermore. And so that they do not seek confusions, I clarify the minds with the instructions and the real knowledge of things as they are,